In the headlines, NRC suspends train services on Lagos, Abuja, Kano and Ajaokuta route due to insecurity. Gombe PDP asks courts to disqualify Governor Inuwa Yahaya and deputy. UNICEF calls for increased enrollment of girls in schools in Sokoto and Zamfara states. And on the foreign news, U.S. Speaker Pelosi leaves Taiwan after controversial visit. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Nten Ekman with the details. The Nigerian Railway Corporation, the NRC, has suspended train services on the Lagos, Abuja and Ajaokuta routes over safety concerns. Managing Director of the NRC, Fidel Okuria, who confirmed these on Wednesday, said the decision followed a report of an attempted kidnapping of passengers that left the Ajaokuta station by road on their way to Abuja. According to him, the passengers and their vehicles were shot at in the process but escaped from the attackers. Okuria explained that the passengers have been advised to use any of the adjacent stations in Itakwe North or Itobo South until the security situation in the area improves. The NRC MD said the Warri-Itakwe train service is still on as the train left Warri this morning on its way to Itakwe. One of the passengers kidnapped during the Kaduna-Abuja train attack, Mustafa Imam, has recounted his ordeal in captivity, saying he was the official medical doctor in the bandits' den. Mustafa, who was one of the 5 passengers freed by the bandits on Tuesday, said he wouldn't pray for his enemy to go through such an ordeal. According to him, there was no medication in the camp, citing the case of a woman who had malaria because there was no medication to treat her. The associate professor of medical biochemistry at the Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, also said feeding was a major issue during his time in the abductors' den. With the recently freed victims, the number of released passengers has now swelled to 37, and as of now, 35 persons are still in captivity.
Because there was barely food. For people to eat, we were hungry for the last three and a half months. We were quite surprised in the last 2 weeks. They actually, they started bringing food stuff that we ate, and we were actually okay in the last 2 weeks. But then for the first 3.5 months, we were actually very, very, very hungry. And when I say very hungry, this is an understatement. There were days that we go, just eating once. We ate once on certain days. And just imagine there are children that are barely 1 year, a child that is barely 1 year old and a 90-year-old person feeding once a day. Just do the math. When you talk about medication, I literally was the medical doctor on camp. I was treating the captives as well as the bandits, or I would say Boko Haram members. There wasn't medication. To be very frank with you, we heard on the radio somebody was claiming that they would bring medication whenever it was needed. There wasn't any medication on camp. We could go days. There was a day that a particular lady who had malaria. So malaria, you could treat malaria with 1,000 naira. But this lady literally was going into coma because there wasn't medication for her. There wasn't medication for her malaria. So the situation is really, really terrible. Really, really. I personally did not experience any molestation, but then some women on camp would claim that there were attempts at molestation. But I personally did not experience this. And this happened in the first 1 to 2 weeks after we were held captive.
And still on bandits have reportedly attacked the Federal School of Statistics in Manchok, Kaura local government area of Kaduna State, leaving 1 dead and 2 kidnapped, including the rector of the school. The attack, according to Daily Trust, took place on Tuesday when the attackers stormed the village and started shooting sporadically before the abduction. The attack comes barely 3 weeks after 2 ad hoc staff in charge of distributing mosquito nets were killed along Zangang Zankang Road in the same local government area. At the time of filing this report, the Kaduna State Police was yet to confirm the incident. The Nigerian Air Force (NAV) has launched an offensive operation christened Operation Show No Mercy against terrorists disturbing the peace of the country through various attacks. Chief of Air Staff Air Marshal Olatayo Amao, while launching the operation at a meeting with NAV operational commanders in the various theaters of operation, charged the senior air troops to ensure that they employ maximum firepower against the terrorists. According to a statement issued on Wednesday by the spokesman of the force, Edward Gaboet, those the air chief met at NAF base in Kaduna on Tuesday include frontline air officers commanding and air component commanders. Amao said launching offensive operation against the adversaries will deny the terrorists freedom of movement, adding that it will also boost the confidence of the populace and ensure a peaceful country. President Muhammadu Buhari has administered the oath of allegiance and the oath of office to 3 new permanent secretaries of the Federal Civil Service. The president performed the ceremony on Wednesday at the council chambers just before the commencement of the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting. The new permanent secretaries are Lydia Shehu Jafia from Adamawa State, Udom Okokun Ekanem from Akwa Ibom State, and Farouk Yusuf Yabo from Sokoto State. In attendance at the meeting are the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, Head of Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemieson, the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Monguno, and some ministers. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) in Gombe State has asked the Abuja Division of the Federal High Court to disqualify Governor Inuwa Yahaya and Deputy Governor Jato Daniel from contesting in the 2023 governorship election. The party accused the duo of submitting forged certificates. The PDP and its governorship candidate, Muhammadu, sought disqualification in a suit between the PDP and 2 others against the INEC and others. On behalf of the plaintiffs, the party relied on a series of Supreme Court decisions in an originating summons filed by 2 senior advocates of Nigeria, Arthur Okafor and J.J. Usman. The PDP argued that Messrs. Yahaya and Jato, having deposed to forms EC9, the said forms constituted certificates, and making a false statement in them amounted to submitting forged certificates. This, according to the party, is a disqualifying ground under sections 177D and 182(1)J of the 1999 Constitution as amended. In the court processes, the plaintiffs alleged that Jato bore multiple names, Manasseh Jato, on his certificates, including his primary education certificate. The plaintiffs further contended that the deputy governor, who claimed to have worked with the Nigerian Army from August 1979 to July 1980, submitted an NYSC discharge certificate with contrary information. The plaintiffs alleged that the NYSC discharge certificate indicated that Jato commenced his NYSC in August 1979 and completed the service in July 1979. No date has been fixed for a hearing in the suit. The crisis rocking the All Progressives Congress (APC) in Benue State took a dangerous dimension as arsonists in the early hours of Wednesday set ablaze the residence of a chieftain of the party, Abubakar Usman, in Otukpo, Benue State. Reports say the residence located at GRA Otukpo was set on fire around 3 a.m. by unknown arsonists. The fire razed the front section of the building, which housed the security post and auxiliary buildings. Abubakar, a one-time senatorial candidate of Benue South, had a few days ago displayed a mock coffin with the condolence register of APC at the front of his house to express his displeasure with the leadership of the APC in the state over the choice of deputy governorship candidate he and others opposed. Former Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation and former Governor of Old Abia State, Odum Ogbonnaya Onu, says, contrary to reports making the rounds, he has not at any time endorsed the Labour Party and its presidential candidate Peter Obi for the presidency come 2023. The former governor, who sought and lost the bid to become presidential flag bearer for the All Progressives Congress, the APC, said his loyalty remains with the ruling party, and as such, all reports of his involvement in any form of anti-party activity should be disregarded. He further stressed that in a statement, the claims suggesting he endorsed another party are mischievous, wicked, and unfortunate. He therefore advised the public to ensure all claims are verified to avoid spreading fake news. Women in the country have been called upon to continue helping one another to enable them to contribute their quota to the growth of women in the society. Minister of Women Affairs Paul Untitled made the call at an event in Abuja. The report.
The Minister of Women Affairs, who was represented by Director General National Census for Women's Development, Asabe Bashir, reiterated that women should make it their priority to help their fellow women, not only financially, but morally, in order to curb the menace of redundancy among women.
Gender-based violence remains the most oppressive form of gender inequality. It is one of the most serious threats to the health and safety of women and girls, and it is deeply rooted in patriarchy. Its devastating consequences are felt at social, economic, political, and personal levels because of the grievous harm inflicted on victims.
A woman activist, Mariam Booker, said 99% of girls within the age bracket of 11 to 16 years in Nigeria have experienced unwanted sexual approaches through chat or other social platforms, hence the need for women to adequately armed with the right information and resources.
We must empower women and girls and make them the agents of change. Build their capital, build their self-assets. Let them be the voices that speak out. We must use a human rights approach because it is the fundamental human rights to bodily autonomy, to bodily integrity, to access to health. We must create and sustain women and girl network.
UNFPF representative Ulamula said the call for women empowerment was necessary in order to awake the giants in women as well as guarantee proper upbringing of their children.
So the right that any woman have is to decide if and when she wants to have children and how many children she wants. And most women in Nigeria would want to have children, but most women would also like to take their time having them. So I would advise women to think about when do you want to have children, how many children do you want to have, and if you decide you want to wait and stretch the time, get access to family planning. Because
the theme of it, promote my sister, says it all. It means we should be our own keepers, we should be our own protectors, rather than having such a toxic or having such a toxic environment where you have women. We believe that women should be the promoters of one another. We should be able to uplift one another. We should be able to encourage one another.
In Abuja, Kabir Lowell, Trust TV News.
You're watching the news update reaching you live from Trust TV. Coming up after the break. Borno flyover builder goes to school. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching News Update on Trust TV. Let's take a recap of some of the stories so far. NRC suspends train services on Lagos, Abuja, Kano, and Ajaokuta routes due to insecurity. Gombe PDP asks courts to disqualify Governor Ino Yahaya and deputy. And moving to other news, the Yobe State Commissioner for Youth and Sports, Goni Bukar Lawan, has been killed in a fatal crash. Lawan, who was a former member of the House of Representatives, died in the lone crash involving his vehicle on Tuesday night while on his way to Kano State. Confirming the incident, the Federal Road Safety Corps Commander in Bauchi, Yusuf Abdullahi, said the crash, which was caused by a speed violation, led to a loss of control adjacent to AY Dagoada fueling station at Dagoada village along Dambam Potiskum in Dambam local government area of Bauchi State. He said the vehicle was driven by Bukar Lawan, who was with one other female adult who sustained some injuries. UNICEF has urged Sokoto and Zamfara state government to ensure the full implementation of the Sustainability Plan of Girls Education Project JEP3 in order to increase enrollment of girls in schools. The UNICEF Sokoto State Chief of Field Office, Mariam Dawesh, made the appeal during a media dialogue on Girls Education Project JEP3 in Sokoto State. The report.
Girls Education Project GEP3 is funded by the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office of the UK and implemented by the UNICEF in collaboration with the governments of the 6 GEP3 states, which include Bauchi, Kano, Katsina, Niger, Sokoto and Zamfara states. The GEP3 is meant to increase enrollment of girls in schools in the 6 states, with a view to ensuring inclusiveness in basic education for all children from primary to secondary school level. It is against this backdrop that the media dialogue on girls' education is put together by UNICEF in collaboration with the Sokoto State Government for relevant stakeholders, especially media practitioners, to arm them with the knowledge of the Girls' Education Project, GEP3, so that they can enlighten people on the project plan, and to also enlighten parents on the importance of the girl-children education and encourage enrollment of girls in schools. The UNICEF Sokoto Chief of Field Office, Mariam Dawesh, pointed out that the Girls' Education Project had enrolled 418,614 girls in schools in Sokoto State, while 545,711 in Zamfara State, but said there is room for improvement. While there's remarkable increase in enrollment in the 2 states, the Chief of Field Office stressed the need for the states to demonstrate leadership by allocating resources, willpower to ensure the sustainability of the project.
The idea behind this media dialogue is to actually bring to the fore the importance of girl education in Nigeria as a whole. And of course, we are in Sokoto here. It's the girl education program called GEP3, which brings us here today. But I think I would like to focus on the larger picture, not necessarily, just GEP3. GEP3 is just one of the organs to make sure that we advocate and deliver girl education in the country as a whole. And of course, for us, we are responsible for right now Sokoto and Zamfara.
Education is an important building block and the most impactful way to empower girls. It influences critical human development outcomes. It reduces inequality. Educated girls are far more likely to be aware of issues surrounding violence and abuse and are less likely to become victims of domestic and sexual abuse or human trafficking. Educated girls are healthy citizens who raise healthier families. Educating women results in promoting self-respect and also helps in raising the status of women. Lower infant and child mortality as well as maternal mortality rates are a result of girls' education. And education ensures economic growth.
Participants of the 5 days media dialogue on girl education were drawn from Abuja, Sokoto and Zamfara states, which are expected to promote the importance of girls' education.
Mohammed Sani, a 13-year-old boy, caught the attention of the world when he constructed the replica of the new Maiduguri using sticks and mud. He is now placed on full scholarship in one private school by the Borno state government. Akurutsi Beatrice has been monitoring the development. He meets the boy to find out the inspiration behind his creativity. The report.
This is the Maiduguri City flyover, first of its kind in Borno State. Its beauty inspired 13-year-old Musa Sani to build a replica of the bridge with mud, cement, paint, and sticks. His parents said Musa has been making wonderful art right from age 5. He loves art, passion for sculpting, and have a dream of becoming a civil engineer someday. When I see something beautiful, I mold it. Like when my mom took me out, we passed the customs flyover. I loved the view, so I went on my own one day, took a critical look of it, then came home and looked for materials to mold it. I wish I could have a big space where I can design lots of things, have a house of our own, and don't walk to school every day. His mother said his talent amazed her and the family. She said he'd never learned designing from school nor textbooks, but does it with passion and accuracy, adding that it is her hope to support him to do more amazing things in the future. He has been designing since at the age of 5. When I noticed the beautiful work, I started buying materials for him. But when he does it, children destroys it. So he keeps it close to his bed. I wish we have the means to get a big house where there's open field so he can continue molding things. I know he's going to become someone in future, and I pray for God's intervention so I can take care of him and my other children. Like every child, Musa hoped one day he will be able to build a house for his parents and a huge company that can support other children's creativity. But for now, he is focusing on the education that will pave way for him to achieve his dreams.
In business news, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has lamented the rising cost of diesel, saying it has adversely affected his fish business. Speaking during a Southwest Fish Farmers Congress on Tuesday at the Presidential Library in Ogun State, the former president said the high cost of diesel may turn fish farmers into bankruptcy. Putting the current price of diesel at 800 naira a litre, the ex-president said the production of a kilogram of fish is now 1,400. He said farmers must not sell less than 1,500, as anything short of that would lead to outright loss. According to the former president, fish production will be out of reach, and then the people will be producing fish outside Nigeria and dumping it here.
The price of diesel has gone sky high, and it will continue to go sky high because the management of the economy of this country is not what it should be. And it's as simple as that. And what will happen is that particularly those of us who have to use a bit of diesel in producing fish, we will completely go bankrupt. And when that happens, Nigerians will still have to eat fish.
Away from Nigeria, the United States House Speaker Nancy Pelosi departed Taiwan on Wednesday, ending a controversial landmark visit that Beijing responded to with threats and military drills. Meanwhile, Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen on Wednesday said at an event with Pelosi in Taipei that Taiwan will not back down and will continue to hold the line of Defense for Democracy. She also thanked Pelosi for taking concrete actions to show support for Taiwan at this critical moment. Pelosi landed in Taiwan on Tuesday despite a series of increasingly stark warnings and threats from Beijing, which views the island as its territory and has said it will consider her visit a major provocation. And finally, in sports, Team Nigeria increased its medal haul at the ongoing Commonwealth Games in Birmingham with 2 podium finishes in women's discus event. Chioma Onyekure won gold in women's discus with a distance throw of 61.70 meters, as Obiageri Amechi wins bronze with a distance throw of 56.99 meters in the same competition. Team Nigeria now has a total of 8 medals, 3 golds, 1 silver, and 4 bronze. Let's now join Adenia Jesafi for more sports news.
The 2022 edition of the Bauchi Polo Club, in conjunction with Nigerian Polo Federation MPF Polo Tournament, galloped off Monday at Colin A.D. Umar Retired Polo Ground in Bauchi. The polo teams will compete for honors in 4 different entries in the polo event that will last 6 days before winners emerge. The major trophies are grouped into 4, namely Sarikin Fulani Cup, Tafawa Balewa Cup, Emirates Cup, and Governor's Cup. 6 teams competed on the opening day with much display to the admiration of polo fans in 3 games. In Match 1, MMD Polo Ranch defeated Bauchi Ubandawaki 5-2 in Match 2. A&O Farms 2 lost 3-4 against Max Green, while the third match saw Percentage scored 4 unreplied goals against A&O Farms 1. Organizers hope to use the event to attract more participants, especially the younger ones within and outside Nigeria, to go into polo sport. Assistant Secretary General, Nigerian Polo Federation, who doubles as Secretary Bauchi Polo Club, Haruna Ningi, says polo sport needs sponsorship for the sport to grow as more people will go into polo, if well harnessed.
Polo, yes, when you call polo, people will think that no, until when you have money you can play polo. No. Polo is a game of passion. It's the only sport that you can spend millions of naira and you can get trophy of maybe 150,000. So
and that's news update this hour. Thanks for watching. I am Nten Ekman. Bye for now.